In a world where we have everything and it's still not enough, we're often left wondering, is this really it?
Deep inside, you know there's more to life. You're ready to leave behind the old push your way through and claim the deeper, more meaningful life that's calling you.
That's what we invite you to explore with us.
We're your hosts,
Stephanie Allen
and Maren and Stephanie. And this is the Soulful Leader Podcast.
Yay!
Welcome back to the Soulful Leader Podcast. I'm Maren. I'm here with Stephanie. And this week, I had a client that was asking me about the hiring process. And I realized that I have a very different thought process about the hiring a person to help, whether it's a subcontractor or a full-time person, or even just somebody that, you're trading with. And my thought process is that I start where everybody starts of what is it that I need? And then I want to find out what the people I'm interviewing need. Where is their strengths? What do they want out of life? And what is it that they feel like they can do? And then I find the connection between those two places. And part of the reason that this is coming up is not just because I was talking to my client about it, but also because I just read an article by one of our teachers, Daniel Goodenough, and he writes in there to hire the person, not the job. And essentially, he's talking about that same thing of what is that person's deepest sense of purpose? Because if you can cultivate their deepest intention, and these are his words, cultivating an employee's deepest intention will in turn result in them bringing new possibilities to the company. And he talks about Steve Jobs, who had said that it doesn't make sense to hire smart people and tell them what to do. We hire smart people so they can tell us what to do. And so what I wanted to talk about today is, where do we find that place where things overlap? Instead of, here's what I need, I'm going to tell you what I need and tell you how to do it, and I'm going to hire you based on what I need. Or, what do you need? And we just pay attention to what you need. There's this place where those two things intersect. And I think that if we can do that as leaders, we will have amazing teams.
It's interesting because there's so much about recruiting new people, getting someone to fill the job. And what I'm hearing you say is it's really like reversing that whole paradigm. And I'm just reflecting as you're saying this, my best practices or my best people that I've worked with are the ones who actually found me. I didn't go looking for them. And one was years ago, and she was a young woman out of school, didn't have any experience actually. She was right out of school. But she had done research about all the local businesses in the area, and she had interviewed them to see if it was a good fit for her. And I thought, well, this is pretty interesting.
That's brilliant.
And so when she came to me and I said, well, why are you coming to me? What is it? And she said, and she had done her research on me and the company. And she said, this is why I want to come to you. This is what I believe, what you believe, and this is where I can offer help and support. And she literally created her own job. And that wonderful being was with me for 7 years, and she was outstanding until she had to move away. And then I had another client, it wasn't a client. It was actually doing a professional speaking engagement. And in part of what I do when I do engagements is sometimes I ask for volunteers. And I had this volunteer raise his hand. And he was very gregarious, very flamboyant. And I'm like, okay, this is either going to be a hot mess or hilariously funny. So I'm just going to go with the hilariously funny. And he was just so engaging, and we had such a good connection on stage. A short time afterwards, I got a call saying that he had wanted to do a work placement with me. Now, this being is an interior designer. I have a wellness clinic. Now I say that, it's kind of funny now that I say that. It's like, because even though I say wellness clinic, but I work with the interior aspects of somebody. So it's like, yes,
designing,
right?
yeah.
Designing,
redesigning
interior,
their
right.
lives.
I just kind of got an aha with that one. But what was funny is that I said, I have no idea where you would even fit in this company. And he was like, look, doesn't matter. You got me for free for a month. Like, let me just kind of hang out with you and kind of shadow you, and I can make suggestions. And I'm just saying that was 5 years ago.
And he's still with
been
you.
with me ever since.
Exactly.
And he has completely, I don't know now, I have no idea what I would even do without him. He created such an amazing job for himself. And I don't even say that he's an employer as a job. I would say we collaborate together because he so knows, we dance well together because he knows my style and how to work with me and and what I need before I even know that I need it. And that's his gift. And I just keep saying every single day I go home from work, I'm like, thank you so much for being in my life, because I didn't realize that I needed something. Have you ever had that experience? Like, you don't know that you need something until it's given to you.
Yes.
And you're like, what is that? And then you're like, how did I ever live without this? Like, after you have it for a while, I'm like, I don't know how I ever lived without it. But I think that's what we're talking about here, is like, sometimes you have to really let go of your old way of being, because it's actually limiting you as to what is meant to come into your future. You do this in every area of your life. Like, I could probably see that in my relationships, in my health, and in lots of different things of like, things show up before I need it and I push it away.
It's so interesting. There's an analogy that you and I have talked about in the past where, it's like, we're riding, say, for example, we're riding a bicycle and we're going top speed in our bicycle, right? And a car zooms by and we're like, I just need to pedal faster. I just need to pedal faster. It's like, we're so stuck in the way that we do something that we're literally, like, we can't get out of it. We're just like, harder, faster, better, go, 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 go.
Yeah, push.
Instead of changing vehicles, and we don't know what it's like to be in a car. It's a completely different mindset. You can't pedal your car unless you're the Flintstones. And, it's right. But if you want to get to that next level, whether it's hiring somebody, whether it's getting from, $50,000 to $500,000, whether it's getting a new relationship, whatever it is, there is I can't use what got me here to get me there. You have to do something in the unknown. You have to literally design from the inside out your new, your next, and be willing to let go of the bicycle, of the old way. And that's what I found for my own hiring practices when I was looking for people. There's the traditional hiring practices, right? And I read all of those and I was like, this is not working for me. So one of the things that I had, everybody who applied, one of the things, if you've ever put a job description out there, you get literally hundreds, if not thousands and thousands of responses. And then it's on you to go through them all. And so one of the things that I had done was I said that in order for your resume to actually even be looked at, you had to submit a handwritten cover letter that explained why you were a good fit for the job. And so I got to know a little bit about them. I got to know if they followed instructions or not. And I would, instead of getting hundreds that I had to go through, I would still get hundreds and people wouldn't include the handwritten, cover letter. But the 3 people that were with me the longest had these beautiful cover letters that like you had with your people, where they told me about what they wanted in their lives. And then we found that mutual place where it's like, okay, here's what you want in your life and here's what I need in my business. And so let's bring those together and what can we co-create? And it was just such a beautiful relationship. And it kept me from having to read 500 resumes,
Well, and in this time now, though, Maren, like we're kind of in a scarcity. Now we've kind of gone the other way of like, gee, I need some help here. And where do I find people? Like, where do I even attract people or find the right things? And I mean, I think scarcity is a kind of a harsh word. And rather than really getting clear, and I mean, this is like an old way, like get clear about what you want, but sometimes we don't know what we want or we don't know what we need. And it's almost even going to another whole new paradigm of an operating system of like saying, okay, these are my dreams. These are my ideals. This is why I do what I do. What wants to happen? And then doing your own due diligence, meaning, take care of what you can take care of. I use this whole thing with the illness and wellness idea, right? If it's just me all by myself, well, that works to a point until it doesn't.
And that's the I.
That's the I in illness. Yeah. And then I need to go to a we, which is asking for help and actually allowing it in. Because sometimes you don't think you need help. Just like,
and that's the we in wellness.
That's the we in wellness, exactly.
So if you look at the two words, they're identical, except for one starts with an I and one starts with a we.
With a we.
Isn't that interesting?
Yeah, and I we're in that world where we have to figure everything out, and we have to like, oh my God, if you could have figured out the type of person that was going to help you get where you wanted to go, you would have written the job description and you would have the right person.
Right.
Guess what? It's not working. We either can't find the people or, people think, yeah, I fit that, and they so don't. Ugh. Or it's just a struggle in a relationship, right? Versus going, oh, isn't it interesting? So I'm just like making this aha in my own moment of like getting more clear about what is important and why that's important to me. And then simply allowing, that's a hard thing to do, to allow and surrender and know that my old patterns of behavior from my past are not going to create my future. They're not. Maybe they created my present, but I'm already here now. Where I want to go, I don't have the operating system, but where I want to go, because I haven't been there yet.
And this is not knowing how to drive a car when you're pedaling your bicycle, trying to figure out, how do I get to be as fast as that car just pedaling my bicycle? You can't. You have to let go. And you won't be able to figure out how to drive a car. You actually have to learn how and be in that process of surrender of like, okay, I'm in beginner's mind. I don't know anything about this.
And you need to get an instructor. You need to ask for help so that someone can sit there and actually go, no, you got to take your foot off the gas a little bit, or slow down, or you're going to take that corner too fast, or they're going to give you feedback.
So I think that this is one of the hardest things for leaders to do because of something that we talked about last season, which is as leaders, we're expected to know everything and do everything, right? Stephanie has this wonderful analogy. It's shame should have already mastered everything.
Yeah, and it goes right along with ego, edging good out.
Yeah.
So it's like pushing it away.
Yeah.
Get out of your ego.
And as a leader, one of the attributes of a soulful leader is being able to say, I don't know. Yeah. And just like that quote from Steve Jobs, we hire smart people for them to tell us what to do. Like, that's an awesome leader.
Well, it becomes a collaboration rather than an authoritarian. My way or the highway kind of model of management, which is exactly what that means. Managing.
Old.
It's a very old paradigm. And we talk about company culture, you talk about anything, whether it's health, you need an environment that's going to set up for healing if you want health. You can't keep going into a hostile environment and accept that your body it's going to take harder. It's going to be harder for it to heal and to get better. It's the same idea as like, if you want to have good relationships, find people around you that model good relationships. You keep hanging out with people who are hot messes, you're gonna like you're going to end up there too.
I just want to also point out, when you say when you go into a hostile environment, and oftentimes we think of that in the outer world. And yes, that's true, right?
Right.
And if you're going to a job that's, hey, you know what? It's not hostile at the job, and it's something that you're not in love with, and you put up with it every day, that's a hostile environment inside your own body.
That is so key right there.
Mm-hmm.
Because
you're creating that.
Yeah.
You know?
And that's what you have control over, is that internal environment.
Right.
So what are you telling yourself? What are you ignoring? Because sometimes that internal is saying, hey, I don't think this is the right relationship or place, or I shouldn't be here. I don't like this. And we just keep shoving it aside. It's not about reacting to it all the time too. It's like maybe sitting down with that voice or that part of you and say, so tell me more. What makes you think this isn't a good environment?
Right.
Is it, am I off my values, or am I off, like, what is it? Or is this just old patterns coming up from my past? And this is a childlike part of myself that's afraid, that needs some consoling. Or is it really my inner guidance saying, no, you need to move. Right. This is not where we need to be. And so that takes practice. That takes time. And it's so key, because when you can change that internal, it really does transcends the external.
It does.
Meaning, I had a saying this morning to somebody. I said, we're not solar powered. Meaning that when the sun goes away and the outside light in the world goes away, doesn't mean that you get turned off. You have an internal generator inside yourself that can light you up in the darkest of times. Tap into that. And
I love that. And
that, when you tap into that, you'll actually, I remember those old bug lights that you used to hang out on your back porch, and the bugs would be attracted to the light, right, and they get zapped. But it's like, I think there's a positive way of that too. It's like when you turn on that internal light, you start attracting environments and people and possibilities and opportunities that actually support you, and you didn't even know that you needed.
And that's turning on that internal why of getting so clear on it. And I just need to say this. That's not a one and done. I think that we're so misinformed about that. I work with this every day. My teacher works with this every day. Stephanie works with this every day. We're constantly refining and looking at our why and deepening it and being in conversation with it. And the weekend workshops that are like, you'll know your life's mission in, 3 days, they kind of make me crazy, because you'll scratch the surface and it's an ongoing conversation.
Yeah, wouldn't it be great to actually say, after this weekend, you're going to have more questions than you ever had before?
Yes, exactly.
And because really it's about, we need to start learning how to be in the question, in the unknown.
I was going to say that, on a quest.
And allow the answer to find us. Like I was saying, anything that's ever been good for me in my life has found me. I haven't found it. It came to me, but I had to be present and practicing enough to be present enough to recognize it when it shows up. Right. That I would go, oh, this could be good for me.
So like does attract like. And if you're not in the right place to hear it, see it, feel it, be it, it will just pass you right on by. Whether it's an employee, whether it's the right job for you, whether it's a relationship, whether it's whatever's next, whatever that car is that you're pedaling so hard to keep up with,
Yeah, so this operating system, as you're relating it to the vehicles, is like we have to shift vehicles or shift the way we operate.
Yeah.
We can't just keep pedaling. Now we need to learn, like, what would be another way. Like you always hear these marketing saying, work less, make more. It's like, what the heck does that mean? Like, that doesn't make sense. It's like counterproductive. I had this client of mine years ago when I very first started doing body work, and he had quite a successful business, and he was always saying to me, he goes, Steph, the more time you take to look inside, and slow down and take time for you, the more time and money you're going to have. I'm like, that doesn't make sense. Are you telling me that the more days off each month I take, the more money I'll have? That just doesn't make sense to me. He said, try it. Just do it as an experiment. He said, because you teach people how to show up to you. So if you start practicing that internal dialogue that we were just saying, it's like if you start talking to yourself differently internally, then you will actually allow other people to talk to you that way. And if you stop talking to yourself negatively inside and harshly, you actually won't tolerate someone outside of you talking that way. And I don't mean don't tolerate it. It's like, it doesn't mean you even have to fight with them. You just go, oh, well, that's about them. I don't have that inside of me.
Right.
So you don't take it personally is what he was saying. And he said also, when you show up and you make time for you, you tell other people that you're worth making time for. Now, that was like 30 plus years ago. He told me that. I should actually write a book and give him credit for that, because I'll tell you, he gave me so many tips. I kept saying, I'm like, I should be paying you half the time. But I think he was an angel sent to me at the very beginning of my career of like trying to make it out there, to making it on my own, and how he was saying, like, I was riding that bicycle as fast as I could. And he's like, no, shift into a car.
Right.
Or move into a helicopter, or like see bigger, bigger, bigger. And every time you're going to reach that maximum, there's another vehicle that you have to let go of the old one to go to the new one. And that can feel scary because it's the unknown again, but start to train yourself to be comfortable in the not knowing, and also train yourself to be still and open in the not knowing so the answer can find you.
I love that. I think that's a great place to wrap up today. Thank you so much for this conversation. I really enjoyed it today, Stephanie. Not that I don't enjoy it other days. That sounded bad, but oh well. So if you'd like to find us on social media, you can find us at The Soulful Leaders, and you can always visit our website, thesoulfulleaderpodcast.com. And we will see you all next week on the Soulful Leader Podcast.
And that wraps up another episode of the Soulful Leader Podcast with your hosts, Stephanie Allen
and Maren Oslack. Thank you for listening. If you'd like to dive deeper, head over to our website at thesoulfulleaderpodcast.com.
Until next time.